boomers. This is so cool. The wound is the place where the light gets in. That is a quote by Rumi, who was a 13th century Sufi mystic whose poetry still resonates globally and personally today. In fact, my meditation teacher, Will Johnson, often talks about Rumi, quotes Rumi, has written a book about Rumi, and that is pretty cool. So we can talk about how our wounds, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual, and the things we've carried with us through our childhoods, those wounds need light in order to heal. We can find the light in these wounds, and we can heal ourselves through that light. What if the deepest pain that you have experienced is also the source of your greatest transformation? What is a wound? It can mean many things. Physical, as I said, emotional and spiritual, or even societal. We have many societal wounds, and the best way to heal the outside world is to heal yourself from within. And wounds are an inevitable part of life. So we have to realize that having a wound does not make you a freak. It makes you actually like everybody else in the world. Wounds often force people to confront deeper truths, and pain and suffering are not to be dismissed or minimized, but rather understood, meditated on, contemplated, and at the end of each year, like we are, and probably every day of the year, it's time to pause, acknowledge your wounds, bring the light in, and there are various ways to do that. In fact, I am taking a course on emotional freedom technique right now, and that is a way to allow the light to come in. And maybe I will do a video on EFT, emotional freedom technique, in the coming weeks. So the concept of light as wisdom, healing, and divine grace is what we're talking about here. Wounds create vulnerability, and breaking down barriers to allow light to come, to penetrate, to become, to energize the light body and the energy systems of our body. And there are many people who have turned personal tragedies into the light of their lives, and survivors, and well, there are choices. When a terrible, so-called terrible thing happens to you, you can turn it towards the light and work with the light to heal your innermost self. So there are movements for social justice, citizen, climate action, and all these things can bring us together with community to heal the wounds of our society. And there are psychological and spiritual teachings that align with this idea. Well, probably because it all started with Rumi, post-traumatic stress disorder. And here's a good one called kintsugi, Kintsugi. Kintsugi is a Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, and that is allowing the light to get in to broken places. So let's accept this. Acceptance is very important. Recognize and embracing the wound instead of resisting it, running away from it, or actually ignoring it completely. What can this wound teach me? And all of this requires an awareness of how you feel, what your body is telling you, where the body is feeling some pain. And in those painful places, we can learn a lot about bringing the light to enter. So we can transform pain into purpose through creative expression, service, personal growth, dancing, playing with your dog, just feeling the joy that is only present in the present moment. And forgiveness, forgiving oneself or others to release the hold of the wound and bringing the light and transformation that forgiveness allows. And, forgiveness is like a peeling an onion. You can't just forgive. Well, some people do, of course, but it's hard to just forgive and it's over. But we need to keep working on our perceptions. I just mentioned emotional freedom technique. We can tap on these things. Tapping on these places releases cortisol and stress hormones, and all of a sudden you feel at peace after doing that particular modality. It's a practice, it's a spiritual practice. And actually, when you do heal, approach healing from a community standard, you are that just reaching out and talking to people who may have undergone similar wounds, and we want to heal those wounds. We don't want to remain a victim of these wounds, is a very powerful thing to do. So our wounds transform us into more compassionate, resilient, and empathetic beings. People like, oh my goodness, like Viktor Frankl. He was in that concentration camp and he found meaning in suffering. And then he survived the concentration camp and he went out into the world and taught others how to do the same. I remember when I was a young girl, I knew of a lot of Holocaust survivors who really did not know how to transform their suffering. And I heard a lot of stories about that. So Viktor Frankl would have been a good resource for these people. So the light doesn't just enter to heal, but also to illuminate our purpose and authenticity. So the wound is the place where the light enters. And don't forget Leonard Cohen's quote, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." So wounds are a universal part of life, and healing with light. I know that when we were younger too, we had a very wise friend of the family, and when we would be upset by something, she'd say, take it to the light, or bring the light in. And that's an old kind of metaphysical idea that served us well as we were growing up. So when we look at the light as a healing force, we have growth and transformation emerge from our deepest pain. And how will the light enter your wounds? Please comment and let me know how this resonates with you. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. And let's continue this journey together. Let's let the light in today, everybody. There's going to be a video that shows up right here. Bye-bye.